Solo, a Star Wars story, may get a sequel, but not how you'd expect. Well, considering I never expected this movie to get a sequel in the first place, any possible Solo, a Star Wars story sequel scenario, say that 3 times fast, it would win this challenge by default. But you know what? Okay, let's play along. How do we get a Solo sequel, but not how we'd expect? Well, they'll probably they'll do what they did with the Hulk, right? They'll roll his story into the Avenger movies or into like they did with Thor. What movies could we possibly roll? Because Alden Ehrenreich still has 2 pictures on his deal. As far as I know, that contract hasn't been killed by Disney. They haven't. I'm sure they have a kill clause, which they haven't exercised yet. No one has at least made public mention of that. So, what other possible characters that exist in the Solo movie universe could Disney possibly explore for a Solo film of their own, quote unquote Solo? Well, let's see. Could it be Qi'ra? Well, maybe. I mean, look, I wouldn't put that past Disney and Kathleen Kennedy signing off on that, but I would have to think a Qi'ra movie would do even worse than a Solo movie at the box office. So you could probably scratch that off. What would be the next possible candidate for a movie? Perhaps Lando. Not a bad idea. Don Glover was actually pretty good as a young Lando Calrissian in that movie. He had the voice down. He did have some Billy D swagger to him. And under different circumstances, he could really work in another movie where he's not, worried about making love to inanimate objects, creatures of all types. So that's a possibility, but then again, after the whole Pando thing, people might not be necessarily receptive of Don Glover returning to that role. So, I don't know. Look, what other characters showed up in the Solo movie that were kind of unexpected, that nobody thought that they were going to see, may never ever have been featured in a live-action Star Wars movie ever again? It was a complete surprise, and people just really lost their minds when they saw him. I mean, it only makes sense. There could only be one real character that you'd want to see in a Solo project coming from that movie that would allow us to bring the great Alden Ehrenreich back. And look, it's right in front of you. Can't you see it? The character that should get his own movie to feature a young Han Solo and continue that story would be none other than Therm Scissor Punch. How's it going, everybody? This is Phil. So I'm over here on We Got This Covered, and recently fans of the movie Solo, a Star Wars story, they started a campaign to get the sequel for this film, which failed at the box office, failed as a Star Wars movie, the only movie to actually lose money for Lucasfilm and Star Wars at the box office. Fans, they want more. They want. they think Disney's. Look, it's as ridiculous as fans wanting Disney to remake The Last Jedi. I mean, it's just a corporation is not going to go ahead and bet on a loser. Anyway, let's jump into this article here, and the author is Christian Bone, which is, what a fantastic name for an adult movie star, Christian Bone. So let's see what Christian has to say. Solo, a Star Wars story, unfortunately went down as the first real flop in the franchise. However, it still has a lot of fans out there who are calling for it to get a sequel. I don't know. Are there really a lot of fans who wanted to get a sequel? I mean, because they say the people who hated The Last Jedi only account for a small fraction of the overall Star Wars fan community, and I would have to think that if those people us, you could throw me in there. If we count for a small portion of the Star Wars fan community, I would have to imagine that the people who want, who love Solo, a Star Wars story, and want a sequel for it, it's got to be even a smaller fraction of the fan community, right? I mean, it couldn't possibly be more. And if we're to be dismissed, you got to dismiss these guys even quicker. They're not dealing with a full deck, I would imagine. But look, you know what? If you like that movie, more power to you. It was stupid. It was fun in a way, but it was unnecessary, and it really didn't do anything great for the character of Han Solo. But again, if you loved it, if you liked it, more power to you. I don't want to completely rain on your parade. So Lucasfilm is unlikely to keep going with the series, right? Of course, with the series on the big screen, though, after it struggled at the box office. But there's so much story potential set up in that film that they'd be foolish to waste it. Well, I mean, look, this is, after all, this is Disney Star Wars, and I mean, they wrote the book on setting up story potential for a Star Wars sequel, and then completely thrown it out the window. So, that argument, you can make that until the cows come home. I'm not sure they were going to go in any direction we expected them to go if they were to do a Solo sequel from what they set up. But I mean, you would have to think, especially if Ron Howard was coming back, that he would continue a thread. That guy he's an accomplished storyteller, so him I would have faith in. But again, I don't really know if I mean, they wasted the potential for the movie outright, right in the beginning. I mean, you never got Jabba the Hutt, you never got Boba Fett, you ended up with Darth Maul, which was, all right, cool, yeah, it was a cool surprise. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of like, all right, I guess we'll see more of what we expected in the first movie in the next two. And that's how they wasted the potential right from the very beginning in movie number one. So, and you put a Jabba the Hutt in that movie, you put a Boba Fett in that movie, you put, the Bounty Hunters Guild, you get those characters in there and they show up in the trailer, you're going to get more asses in the seat. Anyway, thankfully, we're hearing that there are plans to make a sort of Solo sequel, just in a way fans wouldn't expect. So here we go. As we got this covered, as previously reported, Lucasfilm was working on an Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show for Disney Plus. Oh boy. With Ewan McGregor likely to reprise his role as the Hermit Jedi Knight, which would be absolutely incredible. That would be fantastic. Interestingly, our source is now telling us that the studio will fold a couple of key characters from Solo into the series, namely Emilia Clarke's Qi'ra and Darth Maul, Ray Park. Though we've been assured the series will still belong to Obi-Wan, the hope is to use the project to tie up some of the loose ends of Solo. Well, look, I love Darth Maul. Ray Park is awesome, and to get him and Ewan McGregor back on the screen again would be pretty great. I mean, talk about fan service. That would just be so cool. And I've been a big proponent for an Obi-Wan Kenobi television show or a movie, mostly a movie. But I'll take the TV show if it's done, the way that The Mandalorian is looking. If they deliver something on the level of a cinematic experience, I'm all fine with an Obi-Wan Kenobi television show delivered in the same fashion. If The Mandalorian is the proving ground as far as that's concerned. So Obi-Wan Kenobi with Ewan McGregor featuring Darth Maul, Ray Park, that's fine. As far as Emilia Clarke is concerned, with her character Qi'ra, she does go off to meet up with Darth Maul at the end of Solo. Spoiler alert. He's running the Crimson Dawn crime syndicate. So it would make sense to have her make an appearance or several appearances in the show if Darth Maul is going to play a prominent role as an antagonist. It doesn't mean that she's going to get a considerable amount of screen time, but to, I guess, have her character show up working with Maul, it does create continuity and connective tissue between the movies and the overall Star Wars cinematic universe. It feels weird even saying that. I mean, a Star Wars cinematic universe, but the overall Star Wars mythology that they're trying to build here. You could tie some of the loose ends up with Qi'ra and Darth Maul, but for it to work, for me as a fan, it can't feel forced, and no pun intended. And I don't want to feel like when I see these other characters on the screen that they're taken away from the reason why I'm there to begin with, is to watch Ewan McGregor back on screen as Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know, if you're going to bring these characters in, then do it in a way that feels natural and organic, you know, within the context of the story. You know, and hopefully it all works out, but don't do it just because, you know, you had a movie that failed and, you know, maybe you had people under contract and they have to fulfill the obligations in their contract. It just seems like they're doing it because they got to get it done, you know, like it's like whatever they have on the shelf. It's like a potluck type of meal that they're making. It's potluck Star Wars. So why, I mean, if that's the reason why you're doing it, don't do it. Don't try to crowbar something in that doesn't necessarily need to be there. Just concentrate all your efforts on this story with Ewan McGregor. And if you want to bring Darth Maul back, obviously I'm fine with that. And look, Qi'ra, if she's working with Darth Maul, she ties in. Anyway, let's move forward here. Memorably, the prequel film featured a kind of Marvel-like tease for a sequel, as Qi'ra was revealed to actually be working for the secret head of the Crimson Dawn crime syndicate, which is Maul. The last we saw of them, the former Sith apprentice instructed Han's first love to join him on Dathomir so they could work on some new schemes together. It seemed we were destined to never get this follow-up, but an Obi-Wan show might be the best place to do it, especially when you consider the duo's long-held rivalry that started in The Phantom Menace and was later fleshed out in the Clone Wars and Rebels animated series. Tell us, though, are you interested in the idea of continuing the Solo story in the Obi-Wan series? No, I'm not. The Solo, no. That's my answer. Let us know in the comment section down below. Yeah, my answer is no. I don't mind Qi'ra showing up. I certainly don't mind Darth Maul showing up. Love Darth Maul. He's one of my favorite characters, especially from the prequel era. I don't believe an Obi-Wan Kenobi show needs to be concerning itself with the affairs of a movie that bombed out of a theater, just so we could tie up those loose ends. When you consider the fact that it's a blessing to still have Ewan McGregor in this role at the right age, at the right time, who's willing to do it. And look, you can get a Ray Park back in the role of Darth Maul. That's all you need. You don't really need to go back and concern yourself with all of these other plot threads from Solo. Now, you know, some of those things are obviously going to be at play in this show, and that could probably be handled with some quick minor exposition, maybe a monologue here or there. I mean, there's no need to get into the trenches as far as trying to wrap things up nice and neatly with a bow as it relates to the Solo movie franchise. It's just not necessary. So if you're going to bring these characters in, let them be there as a part of the universe. You don't have to explain everything. Who cares about their story? Quite honestly, I mean, they're there. They're part of this show. They're lucky to be resurrected. You know, especially Qi'ra. I mean, Darth Maul, I'll take him just about any way I can get him. But, you know, as far as Qi'ra, like, I don't really care. I didn't really care for the character that much in the movie. I don't care if she doesn't actually come back. You know, she could die off screen as far as I'm concerned. As by the time the Obi-Wan Kenobi show finally gets to running. So, you know, it's not necessary. You don't need Qi'ra. You just put Darth Maul in there. Look, no. For me personally, my answer is no.
Yes or no, Frank? It's gotta be no, dog.
But let me know what you guys think. I know there's people who come here in my channel. They do like Solo, but I'm not burning to see it again, and I certainly am not burning to see a sequel. So if you're of the opinion that you do want to see a sequel and you're not going to be able to, is this an acceptable way for you to continue that story moving forward? Anyway, guys, let me know how you feel down below. Comment, like, subscribe, all of the good stuff, and I will talk to you guys sometime soon. Until then, be happy, be safe, be healthy. Have a great night, guys. Bye-bye.